Hi, I'm Mike from 3 Week Friends. This is going to be a quick making of video just to show you how I put together the animation for the WWE Ultimate Warrior tribute back in March 2016. This is old footage taken back then. I'm voicing it over now in February 2017 just because I found the footage and really wanted to put it out and show people how I made that video. It's not your normal average stop motion animation. I must tell you that at the beginning. If you're looking for a masterclass on how to beautifully move figures, this is not the place for you. This is about how to create drama and the technique involved in creating that sort of wrestling atmosphere in LEGO. There were much better videos out there showing you how to animate the running of a figure and all that kind of stuff. But it was trying to get the emotion. I've said it before, this is the equivalent of like the Bourne Identity trilogy type action where you can't see what's going on because the camera's moving around with the people so much. It's dramatic, it's that kind of stuff. I was trying to create something towards that, let's not say that, towards that, as opposed to the static camera moving the animation in front of you. I wanted to keep a low frame rate, I wanted to keep the lighting around it and the atmosphere around it comparable with the video footage I was splicing in, which came from the official ring entrance for the Ultimate Warrior. And you will know probably that you can't just steal other people's copyright, and I didn't do that. I did that in the anticipation that at some stage the WWE would take over the monetization of that video, and they have, and that is absolutely fine. It's got like 8,000 views on it. I'm really pleased that people are watching it. This video is just going to take you through a few of the scenes that I created with the animation. There'll be none of the footage from the WWE or the audio from that. If you want to see the final thing, you can click on the link at the end or the one I put up at the beginning. But hopefully you'll get a few ideas and a few of the techniques I used and the equipment I used, which to be honest with you is not expensive equipment. My camera is relatively old now. It was expensive at the time, but it's relatively old. But I have a very cheap clicker, so I don't have to touch the camera. And I have very cheap lights and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we'll get to that in the video. So let's have a quick look now at the figure that I'm using. It is the CMF figure that came out, the wrestler. I have swapped the torso out for a torso from the CMF swimmer because I don't want him to be wearing his belt all the time, basically. So I've swapped the arms and onto the new torso, and that hopefully works well. So there are actually two different scenes that I've set up. I've got two different displays. There's the tunnel that you run down for the entrance, and then there's the actual ring with a token gesture of audience around it. So this first animation is him running down the ring. There is anticipation with the Ultimate Warrior's entrance. There's always a bit of video footage that you hear and the crowd get excited, then he comes down halfway through, so that's why I had that gap at the beginning. And this is him running down the ring. You can see the lighting changes are totally out of my control because they're disco lights. They're £10 each disco lights that rotate round on a disco ball rotating colour thing. So they're totally out of my control, so I cannot animate a smooth progression. I'm just going with whatever colour is coming out. And every so often I'm taking a couple of different photos of each stage just to make sure that I'm getting it, because of the changing lighting in there with these rotating things, you're not getting a standard lighting for the photo, and that is the one thing that you have to do when you're creating stop motion animations, is create a standard light, which is why most people who do it in a dark room and in artificial lighting. Now this was done in a dark room with artificial lighting, but the artificial lighting was rotating round and stuff, so I did sometimes take 2 or 3 photos for each frame, and then I would find the best one. So it's a lengthy process, except I'm not doing 25 frames per second. You'll see that later in the editing software that I've got. I'm just using normal editing software, and I'm just putting each photo after each other, and then I run that through, and it works fine. So just a quick note, I may refer to WWE as we go through the video, but actually I mean back then WWF. In that time period it was WWF, there was various TV shows around, and Wrestling Challenge was one of them, and that's why I've branded the side of the ring with WWF Wrestling Challenge. So don't be confused by the weirdness of that if you're not of an age who remembers when it was WWF. So another of the important things when creating stop motion animation is to use a clicker on your camera. Do not touch the camera, do not shake the camera in any way. If you use a clicker, you've got no connection to the camera apart from down a wire, and that makes you get a clean photo. And I know I said at the beginning I wasn't after clean photos, but actually some things need to be done properly. What's next? Okay, so let's now quickly see that little snip when he comes down the ring, and I'll show you what I mean if you haven't seen the video about it being a bit rough around the edges. Okay, so the second shot you just saw in that little animation section was the Ultimate Warrior coming around the corner and through the ring. So that is attaching the entrance and the ring together for that shot, and it's just a really quick shot for him whipping around the corner. What it does mean is, of course, I had to rotate everything round and make sure it was with a nice black background and all that kind of stuff, because obviously I just have a small working area. Okay, so now there's just a quick zoom in shot of both the central 6x6 tile with the WWF logo printed on it, and the next shot in a minute will be the side banner along the ring, which also has the WWF logo, and then on the other 2x4 tile says Wrestling Challenge, which is the logo they used back then. These were both, as I said, being printed by Edinburgh Sanity. Awesome job, really pleased with them. So let's carry on and see the next bit of animation. Okay, I haven't really got anything to say about that, it's just him running back and forward. There's not many steps, because there isn't when you run back and forward across a ring, and the important thing there was to get the lean and the return, and I think I captured that okay. I haven't really got any more footage for that, so let's move on to the next stage, which is the Ultimate Warrior shaking the ropes, which was his trademark thing. Okay, so the great bit about this is, apart from leaning the guy back, the shaking up and down of the ring ropes is a really simple thing to animate, and you can do it over and over again, and that is exactly what I did. I kept taking photos over and over again, took different angles and got it from various places so that I could splice that together, because you've got to remember that if it's a up and down motion of a dozen photos, then that's going to last half a second when you animate it properly. So you need to create a lot of them, so I've done different angles and various different settings for that, so I could use it twice in the video. So when you put all those different camera angles back to back, it creates a really good effect. As I said at the beginning, I split this across a few different parts of the video, but back to back they look great, really good. Okay, so what I should have mentioned at the beginning was there were other lights I used to pick out the Ultimate Warrior out of the scene. Obviously the rotating lights make an effect, but don't highlight the guy you're trying to take the photo of. So I've used little torches that I've been able to hold or attach to the frame of the tripod, or I've just put on the table like this one, and that just picks out a little bit of white, a little bit of brightness where I want it. Okay, the final technique I used was I put the whole thing on a turntable, which allowed me to just rotate very slightly so you could get the camera panning round. I used that in two places. The first one I think was when he was standing on the ropes, which gave a great effect, and then also when he's up against his opponent in the ring, also panned round as well. And that is literally just taking a photo and moving the turntable. You don't have to mess with any of the figures at all. I mean, if you wanted to, you would obviously animate the crowd, you would animate everybody so that there was activity, but actually it's a good enough effect just to turn your turntable a tiny amount, all those different clicks of the camera, and you create a great effect and another slightly different effect, which I think in these sort of videos where you're going for live action and stop motion together and stuff, it's great to have a few different techniques working together. Okay, so that was the two clips. I put them back to back, but that was the two clips showing the camera moving and the use of the turntable. As you can see, actually, the lighting makes things look like they're moving in the background, but actually none of the figures were animated in the background. It was just purely the shaking disco lights that made that effect. So it's a bit of a cheat, but actually it works really well. Really fast process for creating a lot of frames to go in a 3-second animation. So the next thing I just wanted to finish with is, this is the software that I've used to put this together. This is not stop motion software. This is nothing special. It is my software I use for every video, including this one I'm talking to you on now. It's Sony Movie Studio. It is a really good bit of software. It has lots of multi-layers. You can do lots of things in it. But the bottom line is, to get this to work, what I did was I imported all the photos in a line. I shrunk them down to be as thin as I could on the timeline, and then I recorded that as a movie without any of the stuff, without any of the music, without any of the other stuff. And they are now separate little movies, the animated sections in the film, and I would bring them into another project in Movie Studio, and I could then speed them up if I wanted to. I could crop them, because the original photos obviously had additional stuff in them, because the dimensions of a photo is not the dimensions of HD video. So I needed to crop them, and to crop them en masse using this technique is so much easier, so much quicker than it is to crop every single photo to the perfect thing and then output it. So by outputting it with all the extras and then cropping internally, it worked really well, I think. Really pleased with it. Much quicker. Plus also now I have those little bits of footage I can include in this video without all the background noise of the crowd and all that kind of stuff. So on the topic of the background and the crowd, this was not just the video footage from the ring entrance of the Ultimate Warrior. There was 3 different audio tracks going on in the background as well, which were taken from clips that I found in various places. But there was a SummerSlam clip, and there was other clips of the commentators talking and the crowd reacting. There was a whole underlying crowd reaction that I added in to create atmosphere that wasn't in any of the footage that I had. I just added that in as it was a WWE crowd, but it wasn't part of the SummerSlam entrance that is the video that I took with commentators audio. But so that layering of 3 different videos plus the audio of the actual entrance theme, I think gives a real depth, and it gives a real atmosphere as well. Okay, and that's how I made the Ultimate Warrior tribute video last March. Now, it was a big part of my childhood, WWF wrestling. It was one of those things that was American, it was distant to me as a little boy in the UK. It was exotic, let's use the word, but the excitement of the ring and the live events and stuff that you would see on the telly really, really captivated me, and I really loved it as a kid. Awesome, all the way through. I mean, as a kid, I say as a kid, all the way up when I got my own digital TV and stuff when I was a teenager and a young adult. I used to watch it, and yeah, just captivated. And the Ultimate Warrior was one of those iconic people who sticks in your mind as someone just completely out there, and just energy is amazing. So I really wanted to do that as a little tribute when he passed, and that figure just gave us that option to be able to make that video. So I hope, it's only like a minute long, I hope you'll go and watch it and comment on it and share it, because it's one of my favourite things I've done for YouTube. And on that, I'll say goodbye, and thank you very much for watching.